Hello everyone and welcome to In the Trenches, Kroll's weekly threat intelligence briefing. Today is the 12th of May and my name is George Glass. Joining me today is Dave Truman, Mukesh Nagar, Ed Curry and Ethan Afflery. As always, we'll be covering the most recent trends our threat intelligence team is witnessing in the trenches. So let's get into the situation report. First up is a software supply chain attack on Golang leading to wiper malware. A supply chain attack has been discovered that targets Linux servers through malicious Golang modules, mimicking legitimate tools that were posted on GitHub. The obfuscated code within the repositories use wget to download a malicious data wiping script that targets the primary storage /dev/SDA using the dd command for wiping data. The command overwrites every byte of data with zeros, leading to severe loss of the file system structure. The attack follows similar threats to developers through malicious Python and NPM packages that we've covered before. Obviously, this highlights the need for continuous vigilance by developers when installing external libraries and repositories, especially from those hosted on GitHub. Next, we have some more news on the exploitation of a critical SAP NetWeaver vulnerability. Further to Kroll's reporting in previous weeks regarding exploitation of CVE 2025-31324, that's a critical vulnerability that allows a threat actor to execute code on the SAP NetWeaver device remotely. Kroll is observing active exploitation by multiple threat groups, many of them using different TTPs, likely as a result of an initial access broker, selling access to compromised devices, and we're tracking this activity in a cluster called KTA 455. Kroll will be sharing more details at a later date. Organizations running SAP NetWeaver should ensure that the mitigations are applied in the SAP advisory, that's SAP note 3596125 are applied. And if you're exposed, to contact Kroll for a compromise assessment of that device. Remember, if you have any questions or comments, please get in touch with us using cti@kroll.com. That's cti@kroll.com. So moving on to the rest of today's briefing, today we're going to cover the following trends. I will be talking about an ongoing telephone-oriented attack delivery campaign that's being conducted by KTA 401, aka Silent Ransom. Dave will be talking about an EDR bypass that affected Sentinel-1. Mukesh is covering another CVSS 10 vulnerability, this time in Commvault. And the ransomware roundup section this week, Ed is talking about the LOCKBIT website defacement, and Ethan is discussing an uptick in play ransomware attacks. So let's talk about what Moth, Silent Ransom, or KTA 407 has been up to. They're continuing to use the voice phishing campaigns that they're known for. Sophisticated phishing lures are used to target the professional service industry, specifically in the US this time, and this is according to Kroll's intelligence partner, Eclectic IQ, which published analysis on a recent campaign, which Kroll has been tracking as KTA 407 for some time. The group is widely known for its telephone-oriented attack delivery campaigns, that may be referred to as TOAD in other reporting, and has been conducted since at least 2022. We also discussed this type of campaign in the Q4 2024 threat landscape briefing. Kroll concurs with Eclectic IQ's assessment that the group is highly likely behind the reported Bazaar Call campaigns, which have been leveraged by other threat actors such as KTA 248, related to Blackbuster and Conti, and KTA 147, which is another cluster of Conti members, which are also known for deploying the Ryuk ransomware. Notably, KTA 407 typically does not encrypt files on the victim environment, but it exfiltrates data and hosts a data leak site available on the clear web to extort their victims. In this campaign, reported by Eclectic IQ, they're using very similar lures to that are used by KTA 243, also known as Scattered Spider. So those look like victim-helpdesk.com or victimhelpdesk.com. And these campaigns essentially rely on the fact that the user is sent an email lure that will lead to this help desk, purportedly from their own IT team. Those phishing sites will leverage GoDaddy Reamaze help desk tool to appear more legitimate and assist the threat actors in scaling their attacks using the AI chat feature to draw victims in automatically. Once they get on the phone with the victim, the group will instruct them to install some kind of RMM tool like AnyDesk, TeamViewer, or Screen Connect. Once they've got that access to the target environment, they will use tools such as rclone and WinSCP to exfiltrate data from the affected device and any attached network storages. They then use that to extort their victims. The group's data leak site has posted 78 victims to date, which were fewer than other prolific ransomware as a service data leak sites. They obviously continue to focus on high-profile sectors, those which require a lot of trust from their clients, such as professional services and law firm industry. And that's likely because they feel like they can get they can more effectively extort their victims. So in terms of recommendations for this campaign, again, a lot of this comes down to user education. In a lot of these types of campaigns, especially those that we've been discussing with Scatter Spider over the last couple of weeks, those sort of malwareless campaigns where they're using RMM tooling, really does mean that the user is sort of the first line of defense here. Organizations can also implement application allow listing to prevent users from installing the threat actors tooling in the first place. And with that, I will hand over to Dave to talk about this EDR bypass technique. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you. Strauss-Freeberg observed a threat actor using a new technique to bypass Sentinel-1 endpoint detection and response. This technique took advantage of a flaw within Sentinel-1's upgrade or downgrade functionality to bypass the Sentinel-1 anti-tampering protections. The actor compromised and gained local administrator privileges on a public-facing Windows server by exploiting a known vulnerability, though which vulnerability was not detailed. The actor was then observed creating a number of Sentinel-1 installer files of different versions, which will run multiple times before Sentinel-1 seemingly terminated. The terminating occurred because with the correct timing, a threat actor could terminate the MSI exec.exe process during the install once it had stopped and removed the previous version of Sentinel-1, but before the new version was fully in place and operating, essentially leaving Sentinel-1 in an offline mode. It is worth reiterating that local administration access is needed and a known vulnerability was used. It is possible that if the original victim had had a more thorough patching regime, they may have stood a better chance of fending off the attack before they were able to obtain local administrator privileges. Sentinel-1 has published information and advice on how to mitigate this issue for their customers via their customer portal. It is recommended that all customers of Sentinel-1 read and understand this information. One mitigation that can help mitigate the risk is turning off Sentinel-1's updates or turning Sentinel-1's updates to online-only mode, removing the ability of local installer files. Thank you. George?
Thank you very much, Dave. And with that, I will hand over to Mikesh on another CVSS 10 vulnerability, this time targeting Commvault.
Thank you, George. So a critical security vulnerability has been identified in Commvault Command Center, release version 11.380 to 11.3819. The vulnerability has been tracked as CVE 2025-34028 and carries a CVSS score of 10.0, which is the maximum severity and making this a very critical vulnerability. The vulnerability within Commvault's command center is a path traversal flaw, which allows an unauthenticated remote attacker to upload a maliciously crafted zip file. Once the zip file is uploaded, it gets processed by the server, and these files have the ability to escape in the intended directories, enabling arbitrary code execution on the host system. Now, the impact of this is a potentially full system compromise of the command center environment due to no authentication being required for the exploitation, we have seen reports of this being actively exploited out in the wild. Now, in order to mitigate this, we do recommend that users impacted apply the patch versions, which is 11.38.20 with SP38-CU20-433 or SP38-CU20-436. Another patched version is 11.38.25 with SP, so Service Pack 38-CU25-434 or Service Pack 38-CU25-438. If you're unable to upgrade, and we do recommend isolating the command center from external resources in order to try and mitigate the risk as best you can. And for SaaS customers, no action is required as patches have been applied automatically. We do also recommend users of Commvault regularly verify the patch status through the server listing page in the command center. That's all for me, George. Back to you.
Thank you, Mikesh. And now over to the ransomware roundup, and we're starting off with Mr. Ed Curry. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, George. Our threat intelligence team came across the intel of LOCKBIT breach last week. We found that on May 7th, LOCKBIT KTA 273, that their dark web infrastructure was breached and defaced with a message mocking LOCKBIT and a link to a MySQL database dump. The leak exposed 20 tables of sensitive data, including well over 4,000 negotiation messages, 75 plain text affiliate passwords, and nearly 6,000 Bitcoin wallet addresses. The initial breach likely occurred around April 29th, 2025, and may have exploited a known PHP vulnerability, CVE 2024-4577. Evidence also suggests that Ransom Hub KTA 270 affiliates have joined LOCKBIT, and the defacement style resembled a recent Everest KTA 444 ransomware breach. This incident follows the 2024 Operation Kronos takedown by law enforcement and further damages LOCKBIT's credibility and affiliate trust. Of special interest are the leaked conversations, which provide insights and specifics about their negotiations with victims. Moreover, how their exposed Bitcoin wallet addresses further underscores the second and third order effects of ransomware attacks, where victims' information and their dealings with threat actors could also be exposed and further compromise and complicate victim recovery efforts. And of course, the leak brings into question LOCKBIT's operational security and potentially deterring affiliates, and whether this is accelerating the group's decline in reputational damage. Thank you. That is all on the LOCKBIT matter. Now I'll pass it over to you, Ethan, for the next part of the ransomware roundup.
Thank you, Ed. Yeah, so this month, Play Ransomware, otherwise known as KTA 158, has added around 22 victims to their data leak site, including 11 new ones on May 5th, 8 of which were US-based companies. These attacks targeted multiple sectors worldwide, from IT and real estate to finance, software, and retail. At the core of this campaign was the exploitation of a zero-day vulnerability, CVE 2025-29824, found in the Windows Common Log file system driver. This vulnerability allowed attackers to escalate privileges to system level on Windows machines, and initial access was likely gained through public-facing Cisco ASA devices. After gaining a foothold, the attackers used scripts to dump credentials, create new administrator accounts, and clean up forensic evidence. Unique about this campaign is that Play is typically known for deploying ransomware. However, no encryption payload was seen throughout this campaign. Instead, they deployed Grixpa, which is associated with the Balloonfly group, and it is a common info stealer designed to collect sensitive data. And Play was found to disguise it with names like Palo Alto Config.exe. So overall, the campaign reflects a strategic shift, moving from traditional ransomware encryption to data theft and extortion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ethan. That's all we have time for today. Thanks again to Dave, Mikesh, Ed, and Ethan for their presentation. Remember, if you have any questions, please remember to contact us at cti@kroll.com. We will see you next week. Have a great day.